I love reading. I just love books. I've loved reading since I was like 4, I think. When I went to school, I was 5. I could already read. There was lots of books in our house. People would tell us stories, and somehow I managed to read. And I've been reading ever since. And books are just wonderful. You can escape into other worlds. And I've been reading. I loved folk and fairy tales, particularly when I was young. I loved all the Irish folk tales. And I was reading folk tales and fairy tales, like the underlying coloured fairy books. They were my favourites. The orange fairy book and the pink fairy book and the red fairy book and the scarlet fairy book, and like there were loads of them. And I would go down to the library and I would borrow 4 books. That was the most you were allowed. And I'd take them home and I'd read them, and I'd go back down again and I'd try and get another 4 books, and the librarian would say, "You're only allowed 4 books a day, you know." That was in the olden days. They're much nicer now. And I would run back home and I would steal my little brother's library ticket, and I would run back down and say, "I'm not me now, I'm Michael. And what another 4 books?" And she'd let me sometimes. And yeah, I've been reading all my life books. I always have a book on the go. And you know, when I was 16, I decided I didn't want to forget what books I'd read. And so I started writing them down. And I still do it now. And like for 50 years or more, I've been writing down every book I've read. And look, here's my book, this pink one. Here's my book 5, I think, 5 or 6. And here's a page from it, look. See, look, that's all the books I read in January, I think. Quite a lot of books. And I mark them out of 10. See, they're really good to get 8 or 9 or 10, just occasionally. And I do a little smiley face if they made me laugh, and I do a little sad face if they made me cry. Some do. I like books that make me cry. I really like books that make me laugh and cry. Like this one here, look. Stormhound by Claire Fairs. It made me laugh and it made me cry. That means it was really good, because I love books that I really care about. I really care about the people in them, the characters, and I really care what happens to them. They're the best books. They're the books I try to write, and they're the books I love to read. Reading is great. I used to live in Wales, and that's where I brought up my children, and that's where I started writing, in Huntleth and then in Awduron. And but about 10 years ago, I upped sticks and came to live in Ireland, which is where I was born. But I don't live near Belfast, which is where I grew up. I now live in County Donegal. In fact, I live on a little island off the edge of County Donegal. Tiny little island. It's only about 4 miles long and half a mile wide, and there's only about 60 people live on it, and I love it. I so love it here. It's very peaceful and it's very beautiful, and I walk the beaches with my dogs, and I go up the mountains, which are just inland a bit. There's some lovely mountains that I go walking. And after I've been here a while, I thought I'd like to write about the island, really, and about what it's like to live on an island. So I came up with a character called Molly, or in Welsh she's called Mally, because it's in Welsh as well, these books. And the first one I wrote was called Molly and the Stormy Sea. And the second one I wrote was called Molly and the Whale. And the third one that I wrote was called Molly and the Lighthouse. And there's loads more to come. And in Welsh, Mali a more stormers, Mali a more vil, Mali a goleti. And so I just thought, what would Molly do? What do we make her do? She lives on a little island. So we get a lot of big weather here. We get a lot of storms. So I thought, okay, we'll write about a really, really, really stormy day, really stormy night, when her father, who's a fisherman, is out in his little red fishing boat, and then a big storm blows up in the night. Wow, what's going to happen? Is he going to be all right? does Molly have to help him? She's very brave. She's very characterful. Can she save him from the storm? And then turns out she's very brave, and she does all sorts of brave things, and she's really kind, and she really loves her daddy and her mum. And then in the second book, a big whale washes up on shore, because that did happen here. I was down on the beach one time and a whale washed up on the shore. So I wrote a book about Molly finding a whale, and her and her dad and her friend Dylan and all her friends and all the other islanders trying the very best they could to save the whale and to help it to get back into the sea. That's Molly and the whale. And then that third one, they're very exciting, these stories. Molly always sees the light flashing, the lighthouse flashing, and the light goes on and off and on and off and on and off as she's in her bedroom at night. And that was like me, because I grew up by the sea in Whitehead near Belfast, and there was a lighthouse just outside my window going flashing like that. See, because you use the things you know, you use what you know, and then you use your imagination and you make stuff up and you make it exciting. So one night the lighthouse stops flashing, and again her dad is out at sea, and how's he going to get back in if the light doesn't say, keep off the rocks, keep off the rocks, this is the way into the harbour? So Molly and her friend Dylan and her dog have to go through the wild snowy night to try and save the day, well, save the night. So that's so then I have to think, what else could I write about Molly happening on the island? Maybe you could think of some. What good exciting things could happen to somebody who lives on an island? Think about it. Write them. Draw the pictures. It's fun. We're going to talk a bit about characters in stories. And it's pretty obvious who the main character in the Molly books is. It's Molly. The first one, remember, was called Molly and the Stormy Sea. So Molly lives on a little island, very like the island I live on. I live on a little island. There's only like 60 people on it, off the west coast, the northwest coast of Ireland, called Crich Island. And so I was just thinking that I'd write about a little girl who lives on a little island, and she's an only child. She lives with her mummy and her daddy, and her daddy's a fisherman, and I'd write about her and her family and all the other islanders. So it's about the girl, but it's about the community as well. It's about all the people. And the thing about an island community is it's small, it's self-contained, but you've all got to help each other. You've all got to look out for each other, because who else is going to help you, really? If there's big storms, if things go wrong, you've got to be able to sort it out yourself, pretty much. So Molly's great at that. She's a very independent sort of character. She's very strong. She's very kind. She really cares about other people, not just her own family, but her friends and all the other islanders. She's very considerate, and I wonder where she comes from. I think she's a bit like me, really. She's even got a name a bit like me. I'm called Malachy, and sometimes my children call me Maul, and that's a bit like Molly, isn't it? So maybe, I don't know, I didn't intend to do that, but maybe that's part of the reason. So, but she does, she's like me. She loves her island. She loves going for walks around it. She loves wandering the beaches, picking up shells like I do. She loves sort of every other weather. She loves the wild weather when it's really stormy, and she loves the beautiful weather when it's lovely and you can go in the water. She loves the flowers and the wildlife, and she loves watching out for seals and dolphins and whales the birds. On my island there's lots of lovely birds. There's corncrakes sometimes, and there's choughs, and there's all sorts of gulls and things, and there's great birds to keep an eye out on. But yeah, so character, it's sort of writing from what you know. So there's a lot of me in Molly. There's a lot of me growing up as a child, because I grew up by the sea as well, not on an island, but by the sea in a little town called Whitehead in County Antrim, and I'd spent lots of time. I was a bit of a wanderer. I was the seventh of 8 children, and I used to just get up in the morning, have my breakfast, and then go out and not really come back till evening quite often. And I'd wander the lanes, and I'd wander the shore, and I'd throw stones in the sea, and and I've been that all my life really. So Molly's got a bit of that too. So yeah, the main character is Molly, and Andrew Whitson, who did the pictures, who lives in Belfast and who I know very well. It was up to him to decide what Molly would look like. So he decided she would look like that, and he decided she would have a little doll like that. And so it's very nice working with an illustrator, because I imagine what Molly's like, and then Andrew imagines what she looks like, and then the two come together, and it can surprise me. I didn't know she looked like that, and I didn't know the doll only had one eye, but it does come into another story, because Andy's doll only has one eye that he used, and all sorts of things like that happen. So yeah, one day a whale washed up on my island, and so I was inspired to write Molly and the whale. And there you see Molly, she's singing and she's saying, "Oh whale, we're gonna help you. We'll all keep you wet enough until we can do something to help you get back to the sea." And she can be quite strong. She can say, "Come on everybody, we're gonna do this. We just gotta sort it out. Come on, we can do it." It's like in the first book, Molly on the stormy sea, her dad is out in this great big storm, and Molly is determined to get him back. She says, "See, you cannot take my daddy. Storm, you will not have him. I am going to get him back." And when Molly sets her mind to do something, it happens. Right, now I'm going to read you Molly and the Lighthouse by Malachy Doyle. That's me. And Andrew Whitson. That's the guy that does the pictures. This is the third Molly book. The Lighthouse was one of Molly's favourite things on the whole island. All night long the brightness of its beam kept her company, going round and around, whatever the weather. 1, 2, 3, Molly counted, and by the time she got to 17, somehow it was always 17, there it was again, lighting up the room, and lighting up the shelf where her little doll Megan slept. But one night Molly woke, and something was wrong, very wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, she began. But when she got to 17, there was still no light. 18, 19, 20, Molly carried on, just in case. By the count of 30, she was over by the window, and the village was dark, the harbour was dark, the sea was dark, and the lighthouse, she could barely see it. "Dylan, wake up," cried Molly, for her best friend was staying over, while his mother was off the island. "The lighthouse isn't flashing." "Then look," she said, pointing, for out there on the darkened sea, Molly had spotted one tiny light. The light of their father's little red fishing boat. "They won't be able to tell where the sharp rocks are," gasped Dylan. "Our dads won't be able to find a safe way back into harbour." "Wait here, children," said Molly's mum when they woke her and told her. "I'll go down to the harbour wall and make a fire to guide them back in." "Yes, but what about old Jamesy?" asked Molly, who was fond of the lighthouse keeper. "He'd never let the light go out. There must be something wrong." "You're right," said her mum. Someone needs to check he's okay. We'll go, won't we, Dylan? Said Molly. She grabbed Megan, her little doll, and down the wooden steps they ran till they came to the rickety walkway that led to the lighthouse. You'll be okay, Dylan, said Molly. Just follow me. The sea splashed up and over their boots, but they kept on going. They had to. 10, 20, 30, 40, Molly counted as they climbed the narrow steps round and round to the very top of the lighthouse. At last they reached the control room, but the massive light that should have been shining on the world all around was dark, completely dark. There was no sign of their mother's fire down on the harbour wall, and all Molly could make out on the cold sea below was a pinprick of light from their father's boat. But where was it now? Was it closer to the rocks? Molly knew that she and Dylan had to get the beam of the lighthouse back on, and quickly. But how? So, you know, we got 3 books about Molly so far. Yeah, we got Molly and the Stormy Sea. Then we got Molly and the Whale. Then we got Molly and the Lighthouse. Oh, and we did do another one, which we called Molly and the Shutdown, and that came out during the whole lockdown business. And it was like a colouring in book about all the things that Molly got up to during the lockdown. So there's 4 books really about her. But because people like them so much, I've been asked to write more. And I'm wondering what else I could write about. And I'm wondering if you got any good ideas yourself. So why don't you think about a little girl like Molly living on an island with her friend Dylan. Maybe she's got other friends. Maybe she's got pets. What else could happen to her? What else could there be a story about? Because I'm sort of running out of ideas. And the publisher wants more. And Andrew Whitson wants to draw more pictures. So come on now. Get your ideas out. And maybe write a story yourself about Molly. And maybe do the pictures too. I'd love to see them.